What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Friday, September 6th, 2024, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now it is 16:04 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Eastern Europe. So we have some new video footage coming out of Lithuania showing minefields and anti-tank obstacles that have been placed along the border with Russia. So here's the video footage, and you can see this river here, which is the Niemen River. This is along the border with Kaliningrad, which is a Russian province sandwiched between Poland and Lithuania. And these giant concrete pyramids are obstacles to block tanks. So this is looking from the Lithuanian side towards the Russian side. And this is extremely concerning. Let me play this video for you. We had some footage come out yesterday showing this, but today we have some more detailed footage showing the extent of these barricades and anti-tank obstacles and minefields along the border with Russia. You can see the giant Z symbol across the river. You can see the anti-tank obstacles here. You can see the mines, the concertina wire. Guys, this is crazy, okay? We are literally on the verge of World War III and nuclear war. Okay, you see all these concrete pyramids. These are designed to block amphibious landing vessels and tanks and heavy armor, okay? And they're putting them right on the banks of the Niemen River. So this is crazy. I mean, it's like something out of World War II. This is just totally insane. So very, very tense situation in the Baltics. It looks like Russia could attack the Baltics at any time. And Latvian authorities have just decided to ban cars with Belarusian license plates from entering the country. Okay, so Latvia banning all cars with Belarus license plates. And before I continue with the breaking news, I just wanted to mention the sponsor for this update, which is My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply is doing a 25% discount on their mega 3-month emergency food supply, and to get the deal, you got to go to preparewithnyprepper.com, and the link is in the description below this video. But this is basically like their normal 3-month emergency food supply with some extra stuff. Is freeze-dried, so it lasts 25 years. It's packaged in rugged, watertight buckets that don't take up a lot of space. So it's just a no-brainer. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get 25% off of the My Patriot Supply Mega 3-month emergency food supply. And Russia and Belarus have begun joint missile strike exercises on the border with Poland in Brest, which is the southwestern city in Belarus. It's literally 3 miles from the Polish border. And speaking of Poland, I will be departing from the United States this weekend. Saturday night, I will be flying out to Poland. I'll be there for 2 weeks. And while I'm in Poland, I'm going to try to set up my 24/7 live streams, and I'm going to check in with you guys live periodically just to let you know that everything's okay. And I appreciate all your prayers. I appreciate your concerns. I'm going to be as safe as possible. I've been to Poland many, many times in my life, so I know the country very well. I speak the language fluently. So I assure you I will be safe. But obviously, if there's a war, anything could happen. And Trump's sentencing in New York has been delayed until November the 26th, until after the election. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. And the U.S. is discussing a possible Iranian attack with Israel, saying that the aircraft carriers in the region can't stay indefinitely for added protection. This is being reported by Israeli Channel 13. And the Biden administration is reportedly reevaluating its approach to ceasefire hostage negotiations with Hamas after Hamas killed 6 hostages according to an unspecified U.S. official cited by Axios on September the 5th. And in Munich, Germany, there was a terror attack in front of the Israeli embassy. German police shot dead an armed man after a terror attack near the Israeli consulate in central Munich on Thursday, officers said, prompting an investigation by state prosecutors. The suspect, an 18-year-old Austrian citizen, was armed with an older rifle with a mounted bayonet when he was shot at Karelin-Platz, a square near the Israeli consulate and a Nazi documentation center, according to police in Munich. The suspect was fatally injured after shots were exchanged, Munich police said in a post on Twitter. And here we have another picture of these anti-tank obstacles in Lithuania on the border with Russia on the Niemen River. This is like something out of World War II, guys. This is crazy. And then here we have a picture coming from Belarus near the Ukraine border. The Belarus Ministry of Defense released this picture showing an armored vehicle with these drone cages welded to it to protect it from drones. So looks like Belarus is getting ready to join the war. We still have U.S. nuclear forces on high alert. This is pretty interesting. What you're looking at here is a P-8 Poseidon sub-hunter, and it's patrolling the Olympic Peninsula this afternoon, and it's hugging the coastline here really close, and it's flying very low, only 4,000 feet in altitude. And what's interesting about Washington State that a lot of people don't know is that in the Puget Sound in Bangor, Washington, the U.S. has the Trident missile storage. The Trident missiles are the missiles in our nuclear-armed subs. So we have a Trident missile storage facility there. That's where pretty much all of our Trident missiles are located. And then also we have most of our nuclear-armed subs at the Bangor Kitsap base in the Puget Sound. So this is a very important area, and I find it interesting that the Navy is sending out a P-8 this afternoon to hug the coastline here and recon the area, probably looking for miniature reconnaissance vessels. They have these tiny underwater reconnaissance drones that are unmanned, and they're maybe like 6 to 10 feet long, and they're very difficult to detect, and they can get into these really shallow areas. They can get into harbors, and they can spy on our subs and the activity there. So this is very concerning. I haven't seen that ever, actually, to be honest with you, and I've been tracking flights for several years, and it's pretty rare to see something like that. We also have 2 nuclear war command and control planes in the air this afternoon. One is over Florida, one is over the Gulf of Mexico. These planes are responsible for remotely launching all of our Minuteman III ICBMs, and they can also communicate with our submerged nuclear-armed submarines. One of them was actually doing touch-and-go loops at the NASA shuttle landing facility, which I've never seen them do that before. So very strange. And we have some pictures that were sent to me by a subscriber in South Dakota. This person is a trucker, and they were stopped at a truck stop near Ellsworth Air Force Base, and they saw several B-1 bombers. Okay, so here's one that was in the air. This was yesterday. 2 of them this person saw, and then here's a picture of another one. Okay, so very interesting. This one was actually taken by a different subscriber, but several B-1s spotted in South Dakota yesterday flying with their trackers turned off, because I didn't see any on my flight tracker. So at least 3 pictures of 3 separate B-1s were sent to me in the last 24 hours, and that's just what people saw and took pictures of. Imagine what else was in the air. Yesterday, we had a presidential doomsday plane fly from the Stratcom bunker to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which is like the Area 51 of the East Coast. So very interesting. We also had a B-52 nuclear bomber airborne yesterday over the Gulf Coast. We also had a Norwegian sub-hunter fly up to the Russian Northern Fleet base in Murmansk in the Kola Peninsula. So they're continuing to monitor the Russian Northern Fleet base, which is where Russia has most of their nuclear-armed subs and their attack subs and their cruise missile subs. They're mostly based over there. And we also had an unusually large amount of reconnaissance planes over Romania 2 nights ago. Here you can see a NATO AWACS plane, a French AWACS plane, and an aerial refueler. So this is pretty unusual. Not sure what was going on over there. We had more reconnaissance over the Baltics and Poland yesterday. So this plane here is a RC-135, which is a reconnaissance plane, and it flew around Kaliningrad. Pretty interesting timing with all these barriers going up in Lithuania. We also had this AWACS plane flying in the eastern Mediterranean, about halfway between Cyprus and Crete. This is pretty rare to see, so I don't know why this thing was airborne, but there were some strikes on southern Lebanon in the last 12 to 24 hours, so maybe it was helping the Israeli Air Force coordinate strikes. And the mayor of Lviv in Ukraine is saying that Poland should start shooting down missiles flying in western Ukraine. And Ukraine managed to stop the advance of the Russian army in the Pokrovsk direction. Over the past several days, the Russians have not made any gains in Pokrovsk. And we do have this eastern equine encephalitis outbreak in Vermont right now. You can see which areas of Vermont are at the highest risk. You can see the border with New York near Lake Champlain is really the worst area, and that's because of all the standing water there in Lake Champlain. So be on alert if you're going to be traveling there anytime soon. And Rosatom CEO and the IAEA director are going to start talks in Kaliningrad. And the U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said today at the NATO defense ministers meeting in Ramstein that we will continue to provide support to Ukraine until it produces its own weapons. The world will be more dangerous if Ukraine does not win. And Zelensky actually attended the defense ministers meeting in Ramstein, and he said that he is sorry that Ukraine can't strike the Kremlin. He said, quote, "When we say that Italy or someone else is afraid that we will strike the Kremlin, I am sorry that we cannot do this." Wow. So Zelensky flat out saying he wants to strike the Kremlin. And Romania just handed over to Ukraine one of their Patriot missile batteries. And the YouTube channel for Tenet Media, as well as 4 other channels belonging to its founder, Lauren Chen, which added up to well over 1 million subscribers, has been terminated by YouTube following yesterday's indictment by the U.S. Department of Justice, which alleges that both Lauren and her husband knowingly accepted over $10 million in funding from foreign agents linked to the Russian government while pushing media personalities on Tenet, including David Rubin, Tim Pool, and Benny Johnson, into producing pro-Russian content. Earlier today, the U.S. Department of Justice filed charges against 2 Russian nationals working for RT News that are accused of funneling over $10 million to a Tennessee-based media company known as Tenet Media, which hosts several right-wing media personalities, including Dave Rubin, Tim Pool, and Benny Johnson. The 2 Russian nationals, Konstantin Kalashnikov and Elena Afanasieva, are said to have used shell companies to provide millions in funding to Tenet, who in return created hundreds of videos which placed a spotlight on domestic issues within the United States like immigration and inflation to further divide the country at the behest of the Russian government. Rubin, Poole, and Johnson have released statements claiming to have not known about the Russian funding or their influence operation within Tenet, with them claimed to also be victims of the scheme. Okay, so very interesting. And North Korea launched another round of trash-filled balloons into South Korea on Wednesday, with about 420 balloons released. The balloons contained paper and plastic waste and posed no safety risk, according to the South Korean military. This marks the 13th such incident since May amid escalating tensions between the 2 Koreas. And Ukraine's Azov battalion launched a counterattack in the New York axis and retook part of the town. And we had multiple destroyers and U.S. naval vessels leave important ports in the U.S. So we had a supply class fast combat support ship leave Norfolk Naval Base yesterday. Okay, a supply ship for fast combat support leaving Norfolk yesterday. That's pretty ominous. We also had an Arleigh Burke class destroyer leave Japan yesterday, so that's pretty interesting. And an eyewitness saw Chinooks flying to Camp David yesterday, and also some fighter jets were flying over the area there as well. And the NATO Secretary General said today that China has become a decisive factor in enabling Russia's war against Ukraine. He said Iran, North Korea, and others are providing drones, ammunition, and other weapons to Russia in the Ukraine war. And overnight, the Israeli Air Force conducted several strikes against Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon, including against a weapons storage facility near the town of Blida, as well as other military structures in and around the Aita, Ash, Shab, and Yarin. And there was an extensive wave of airstrikes in southern Lebanon just a few minutes ago. According to initial reports, more than 14 Hezbollah targets were struck. So Israel launching strikes on Hezbollah last night and today. And sources confirm that groups from the IRGC have entered southern Syria, where they have been distributed among military units in the southern governance of Swida, Daraa, and Quneitra. Okay, so the IRGC, that's the Iranian military being deployed to southern Syria. And the whole situation with Iran is very, very strange. Iran suddenly back down from their massive strike. I don't know if this is temporary. I don't know if this is permanent. It's hard to say. I would just stay on guard, stay prepared, stay ready. Make sure you have a fallout shelter. Make sure you have a nuclear war survival plan. Make sure you have at least 2 weeks of water and several weeks of food. And make sure you have self-defense tools as well. And the Israeli defense contractor Rafael recently conducted their second successful test of the Iron Beam laser defense system, which is slated to enter active service by late 2025 and will act as the final line of defense in the Israeli air defense array against drones, rockets, and mortars. So that's pretty cool. And Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić said on Thursday that he received Putin's invitation to join the BRICS summit in October, but announced that Serbia will have important guests during this period. Radio Free Europe reported 10 to 12 days ago, I received an invitation to join the BRICS summit on October 23rd and 24th. At the moment, we have important guests from abroad, said Vučić in an address to journalists. So basically, he turned down the invitation to the BRICS summit. Okay, and that's going to be held in the Russian city of Kazan. So very interesting that the Serbian president turned down this invitation from Putin. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I will be back tomorrow with more breaking news, and I will be leaving tomorrow night to go to Poland. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Steve Quayle. If you guys don't know who Steve Quayle is, check him out. He's a legend. He's been shouting me out a lot lately, so big thanks to Steve Quayle, stevequayle.com. Check him out. But that's pretty much it for this one, guys. If I'm not back on tonight with another update, then I'll be back tomorrow. Before I head out, I'll definitely say my final goodbye. Hopefully it's not like the final goodbye, but you know what I mean. So that's pretty much it. Take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere.